Hello world, this is Phil, and this is part one of a series where I am hoping to teach you a little bit about web development in general and PHP in particular. So let's get to that. First, before you can program in PHP, we need to know a little bit about how it fits into web pages and a little bit about the web in general, so we're going to cover that first. First we have HTML. HTML is hypertext markup language, and that's just a fancy way of saying this is a plain text way to describe what a web page looks like in your browser. So all web pages are created in HTML, and they do exactly that. The HTML itself simply describes how things are laid out and where they're placed on the page and kind of what they're going to look like and stuff. And it's all done in plain text. You can see that today I am working in notepad.exe, which comes on all Windows computers, and there are definitely better programming tools out there than Notepad, but I wanted to prove a point in that these are just plain old text files, and you can edit them anywhere. What's important is not the type of file it is, but what we do with them. Okay, so first we have HTML. HTML is made up of plain text and what we call tags. Tags are denoted by these little brackets here, and basically what goes in between those brackets is the tag itself, which is the instruction to the browser of how it's going to be displayed. So let's put a couple of tags in our HTML document here. What we put is a little B, and all that tells the browser is that the text in between those two places are going to be bold. So here it starts, here it ends. Notice this little slash here, and that means it's time to end the tag. Save it. We go load it in a web page, and we can see that we have HTML in bold and the word first in non-bold letters. And that is HTML in a nutshell. There are a lot of different tags out there, and if you want to output anything that looks decent, you're going to want to learn a lot about HTML. But that's kind of outside the scope of what we're doing. The main point that I want to prove or show you about HTML is that it is a static language. What comes out of it is exactly what was put into it. Unless we go back and physically change this file, it is always going to say the same thing in the same way. And that is the nature of HTML. It never changes. Now, another word you're going to see around a lot is CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. And what that does is that style our HTML document. So, to give you an example of that, let's go to our bold tag here, and let's add style equals and a couple of quotes, and inside those quotes we're going to put some basic CSS. So we're going to say color, and let's make it green, and predictably that is going to make anything inside this B tag green in color. Let's go back, load it up, and you can see it is in fact green. And that's CSS in a nutshell. Once again, it's highly recommended, if not absolutely necessary, to learn as much as you can about both HTML and CSS, because these are going to affect the overall quality and look of your web pages as you progress in the web development world. But they're both static. Unlike PHP, which PHP is not a markup language. Both HTML and CSS are kind of a markup language. PHP itself does not describe anything. What it does is it makes logical statements. It changes the output of the page depending on what the conditions are. So let's see a little bit of that. PHP is also wrapped up in tags. Sometimes you'll see them look just like this, and sometimes you'll see a little word PHP there. Sometimes they might even look different than that. But basically what that's saying is everything in between those two tags is a PHP statement. We can save this page, come back, refresh our page, and we do not see those tags. In fact, if we right click, we go down to view page source, we can see our HTML tags, but we cannot see our PHP. And that is because the PHP is processed and in turn outputs the HTML to the page. So it's processed server side and the end user never sees any of your PHP code at all, or they definitely should not. If they do, there is a problem somewhere. Okay, so when we do want it to output something to the page, we use the echo command. Let's go ahead and type in echo and a space and two quotations and a semicolon at the end of the line. And we're going to say, hello, this is PHP. Go ahead and get rid of that. And we save it and load our page, and that's what it says. Hello, this is PHP. Go to view page source, and we can see that's all that it says. The echo statement's not there, the quotes are not there, our PHP tags are not there. It is simply, hello, this is PHP. Cool. A couple other things about what we're seeing here. The quotation means that this is a string, which we'll get into exactly what a string is later, but right now we'll just know that it is a string. And notice the semicolon, which denotes the end of the line to PHP. If you do not have these in your code at the end of every line, you will see an error. That's what tells PHP that this particular line is done with and it's over, and to go ahead and execute it. Okay, well, that's it for part 1. We haven't got very deep into PHP at all, but we'll get there, don't worry about it. The important thing is, right now, we understand that it's a dynamic language, that PHP will change depending on what the environment is and what goes into it. We can change the output. I don't think I specifically stated it, but I think we can see that PHP outputs in HTML. Just real quick, we'll say this, and we're going to make this bold. This area in